two, one.
International superstar, Miss Mother B. Rocker.
You are now tuned in to Butter B. Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am so glad to be here today. I was going to say the sun is shining. I think it's halfway shining, but we're still alive. We're on this side of the earth. There's a lot of people that didn't make it. Make sure that you are staying safe, wearing your mask. COVID is still alive and thriving, so make sure that you're doing everything you can to be safe and to keep your family members safe. With that being said, I wanted to pour on you a quote that I read that I actually needed to hear myself. Sometimes you have a hard time. So the quote I read is, "It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up." And I can testify to that. I've had some very low moments in my life where you get knocked down and you just go through some things. But, one of the things that Les Brown said to me, as many of you guys know, I had a knee injury. I had a torn ACL, torn meniscus. I dislocated my shoulder, was walking with a walker for 3 months, was using a cane for 2 months to get back to walking and dancing and everything again. And it took me a full year. I did three days a week with physical therapy. I mean, it was kind of rough, and I had no range of motion in my shoulder for 6 months, but still had shows that I had to do and things that I had to do. And they couldn't tell me before my surgery if it was going to be, if I had a partial tear or if I had a full tear. And the difference of that was between a 6 weeks recovery time or a full year. So they couldn't tell me until the day of my surgery while they was in my knee. So I woke up to the news of, hey, you're going to be out. You're not going to be touring for a whole year, which of course was horrible to hear because, as y'all know, that's all I've been doing is touring and singing all over the world. So to get that news was a hard blow to me. And I remember going home that day from the hospital, and my spirits was really low. And one of the things that I started doing, I said to myself, okay, so you can either take this as a bad thing or you can take this and grow. And so I put on some affirmations and everything, because I'm into affirmations and stuff. So I put on some affirmations, and while I was listening to the affirmations, Les Brown called me, and I had met him when I performed in LA at the City Gala. Sorry. So he called me on the phone, and this is somebody that I've looked up to forever. And he called me on the phone and he says, "I know that you think this is a setback, but this is a setback. This isn't a setback. This is a setup for what's next for you." And I didn't understand it at the moment. My spirits was really low, so I didn't understand it. But what I came to realize was that although it was a hard blow for me, and yes, I had to figure out what was my next moves and everything, that allowed me to be able to sit still and figure out what my other talents were. So from that injury, a book, I became an Amazon best-selling author within 7 hours, came out. My boys started their magazine where they have Disney and the NFL, Miami Dolphins, and Netflix, and all of these people are in their magazine contacting us for their magazine. So that was birthed. My PR firm was birthed. Now I have a film coming out, and I'm directing and writing and other things. So a lot of things were birthed from it. So the moral of the story is, it might look like a setback. You might get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down because that's part of life. But you can get up. If you can look up, you can definitely get up. But with all that being said, I want to bring on a very amazing guy that I had the pleasure of meeting actually on Facebook. But his story, everything about him is just amazing. And I love how he always centers it back and gives praises to God about it. So I would like to bring on Mr. Charles D. Clark. He is a multi-award-winning professional actor known for his bad boy role in the Fox hit show Empire. He also, his latest appearance was also with Will and Jada Pinkett Smith in the new movie Charm City Kings. He is also a speaker empowering lives worldwide through his powerful and life-changing testimony. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, sis?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. It is it's a wonderful day. We're on this side of the earth. So I'm
That's
always
right. If you breathing, it's a blessing. Amen
Yep,
to that.
absolutely. Absolutely. So can you let everybody know a little bit about yourself?
Hello everybody. Charles D. Clark here. Happy to be on this wonderful platform podcast with my sis, who is also someone that is doing great things and inspired by. A country boy, born in VA, but spent a lot of my time in North Carolina, where my testimony was birthed. But my father died when I was 5, going on 6 years old, which was devastating to me. Of course, anyone of that matter. And him and my mom got married 2 weeks later, so that was a big, another big devastation. And it led me to the streets. Gang banging, being a goon enforcer, a little bit of drug dealing, but my main aim on the streets was a goon enforcer, and ultimately led to me in prison. As we know, when that lifestyle come about, there were two ways out: the graveyard or prison. So, fortunately, I was able. Obviously, I'm still alive. Did almost 8 years in prison, where I found God, felt my purpose, and led me to becoming now a professional actor, speaker, and inspiring the world through my platform and meeting like-minded people such as you, sis. So happy to be here. God gets the glory.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm definitely sorry to hear about your father passing
Yeah.
at such a young age, and I could imagine that would be, something really hard because guys, little boys, they need their fathers. And
Hmm.
as much as a woman, you might have just a woman in the house and everything, but I always say a woman can do the best that they can do to raise a guy, to raise a
Hmm.
young man into becoming a man. But if you're not a man, you can't fully relate and understand everything that they're going through. And so you
Yes.
need a father figure or someone around to help kind of guide them and help them with the man type of questions and things that they go through. So I could imagine not having that could possibly lead you going to the streets, if that's what you're around and that's where you find your home. Um, so I'm just very sorry to hear that. So you served 8 years in prison, and
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
that,
Almost 8.
okay, and
Yeah.
from that, you came out and went into acting. How did that transpire?
Well, actually, which is one of the unique milestones of my testimony, is because of my grandmother. Heavenly shout out to her, Lucille Haley Clark, who was my dad's mom. She didn't want to visit me in prison because she didn't want to see me in those conditions. But uh, within a year or less than a year of me getting released, she finally came up there. My aunt and uncle brought her there, and I was so happy to see her. I mean, I've been seeing her my entire bid. And so once I went to the visitor room, my uncle was sitting my grandmother there, and my auntie ran over to me, and she was like, "Nephew, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me." And I was like, "What? That's my grandma. I want to see her." And she said that your grandmother's dying. She has dementia. She has 3 brain tumors. And I was completely in shock. Like, what? She says, right near your grandma thinks that you're your dad. And my dad was in the military, special forces. And he died. Of course, he was age 31, going to 32. But he also actually served the country. And she thinks that you're your dad, and she thinks this prison is a military base. And I was like, whoa. So then she went on to say that the doctor said that you have to basically go along with what she's thinking. If you try to make anything different, it could put strain on her condition. So imagine 2.5 hours in the visiting room, becoming the man that you lost, your hero, your dad, who's already dead, looking into the eyes of your grandmother who's dying right before you. Try to act like my dad for the entire visit. After the visit was over, my grandmother, as she walked out, she told the CO, which is the correction officer, she told him, "Let my son go. He has served the country long enough. It's time for him to come home." She was just kind of set in a repetitive state. And when she left out, the CO called me over there, and of course, typically they do random, pat downs to make sure you get no contraband or whatever. But in this particular case, it's because he was heartfelt of what he had saw, witnessed, and he said that, "Charles, whatever you plan on doing, I don't know what it is, but you need to be an actor because what you just did, sacrifice the woman for your grandmother, that was an Oscar moment." And he said it really touched me, man. And I really didn't think anything about it until afterwards. And sure enough, my grandmother died, unfortunately, right before my release, which was a couple months later. But I landed my first role the same year I got out of prison. And when I do my speaking engagements, I always tell people that my grandmother gave me my first audition. So that's why I chose my destiny as an actor, because God used her in the last moment to show me that's what I'm supposed to do.
Wow, that is a powerful testimony. Okay, so your grandmother passes, you're still in prison.
Mm-hmm.
You have a couple of months before you get out, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yep. I've had a couple of months, and during that process, I sort of got, say, okay, maybe, she was on to something. I kept hearing what the CEO was saying. It really didn't hit me until actually I got approached the year I got out of prison. I got out February 19, 2009. November, right before Thanksgiving, I went to a get-together, and one of the PAs from a production was hearing my conversation, and they said, because based on my look and what I was saying, I'll be perfect for this small featured role. And that's when the light bulb came on, like, okay, I ain't been out of prison a year, and I'm getting approached by. So that's when I put everything together and said, you know what, I'm going for this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay,
yeah.
so what was that first project that you did? And tell us.
Premise of Duality by New Wave Production. I've had a small role with CJ. He was a ex gangbanger, just came out of prison or whatever, and his sister was dating basically a psychopath, and he was felt some kind of way, and he basically figured there was something wrong with the guy she was dating, so he was trying to get at him, and unfortunately the psycho people are, most movies always win. So I became one of the victims, so to speak. It was pretty cool experience, but it got a chance for me to be on set and get to know what the set life was all about. So from there on, I got bitten by the bug, and it kept on going. And after this, I started doing all the background roles or background in general. Started taking classes. Then I started getting speaking stuff here and there. I've never been a person to be like, oh, the role is too small. I was just blessed for someone to see something in me to be a part of their projects. Remain humble, gave God the glory, stayed training, and led up to what I'm doing now.
That's so cool. Okay, so when you got your first role, and I'm speaking this so that people that are new, that's getting into the industry, that's
Yes.
thinking about getting into the industry, I'm trying to give them some insight as to the process. So
Yes. Okay.
you get out of prison, you get approached to do, because that's not normal. You don't usually get a role just by being out. That's not
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
So after you get this role, you then just you start taking classes and all of these types of things. What was your first move? What do you tell someone to be their first move? Because I've heard a lot of people will do backgrounds first, to try to get in there. Start doing the backgrounds, and hopefully it'll get you to a leading role, that type of stuff. What do you recommend for someone that's fresh?
Training, marketing, because everybody's journey is different. I mean, I don't believe in luck. Of course, it's blessed and been the right place at the right time. However, as far as putting in the work, the first thing you have to do is take away the oh, I could be a celebrity, or I could be famous and be rich. Remove that. I've learned that that's just an extra, piece amongst you putting the hard work for the arts. What I did was I learned how to market myself. I learned, with my testimony was my main drive, my passion to inspire people, and then the acting came along with that as I was doing that. But what I did was I just kept training, and when you do background, of course there are rare moments where there you get upgrade to maybe a co-star or just a day player. But you people always say, I want to be this big movie star. I tell people sometimes you have to do things for free because people need to know your skill set. Can you act? Do you have range? So if you see like any student films, it might be the only thing you get is $1 million of credit. We all know about that, especially actors who been in the game for a couple of years. Don't worry about the money. If you have a chance to showcase and make a reel, because you need your reel, you need your headshot. Social media, we know that's the biggest platform. I see some people who don't utilize it enough. They post everything else except for what they supposed to or what they need as far as a vehicle for their acting career. If I'm a casting director or somebody from a production or entertainment company on any level, when I come to your page, I need to know that you are a rising actor, that you are a working actor, working on your craft. I don't want to see all this other craziness that says, okay, they try to be an actor, because people are watching, especially if they think you got potential, and then it could be something that you do in your social media, something you say, something you post. You gotta be very careful, and then ultimately too, do your own skits and post them. Let people see your creativity. You know what I mean? Your creative genius. All those things plays an accolade. If you think you're going to just get into Hollywood just by saying, oh, because of my looks or I was born for this talent and I was born to do this, then you're wrong. It's people look at things from one spectrum, but the thing about it is being consistent, train, keep your headshots updated, and present what you learn your craft. Let people see your growth. That's the ultimate thing.
Those are all very good advice. So you hit on something that I think definitely makes a lot of sense. As far as your social medias and everything, I do think that people aren't really using that as a tool that they really should be. People are worried about what they got on, what they ate, and all this type of stuff, who they're hanging with.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I'm at the stoplight. Up, I spilled it in my Starbucks. Okay, this party is supposed to be an all-white party, but I somebody with a black suit. No go. Hashtag, why wear a black suit and a white? It's like, is it stupid stuff? It's like, where's the stuff for the acting? And then as soon as you see stuff, oh my God, I want to be an actor and actress. It's like you're not showcasing that. You're being part of the medium of this non-existence to which you're trying to do. And I'm not telling people not to have a life and not, you will keep your audience going, but you have to know how to balance that. With me, mine is strictly inspiration and acting. When you go to my social media pages, when you Google me, I'm an actor, professional actor, full time. I'm a speaker, mentor, advocate. That's what I present. And just like what you're doing, the singing, the acting, the right directing. When I go to your page or when I see your stuff, I know what you're doing. I know, like, wow, look at this, and your king as well. Look at him, So you want to be a part of that if you're a part of the arts. It's the passion of it. It's the foundation of it. But a lot of people can learn the hard way. They think, I'm just gonna get half naked, or you gotta be part of the politics, the political standpoint of Hollywood when you're not even in depth in what the arts is really about. Keep it simple, keep it clean, be consistent, and just train. You gotta. It's hard work. It really is. I don't want to tell anybody that, oh, you just pop your fingers and smile and you're going to be an A-lister or a B-lister, whatever lister. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about if you're a celebrity or if you're known and how many likes and shares you got. Just do the work. As my sister Gemma, just do the work.
Yeah.
And put God first. People are watching. They're always watching. And, what you give is what you get.
Definitely. You're dropping some dimes. One of the things now that I'm on the back end of things with my movie and everything is in the auditioning process. Not only, of course, I'm looking at their audition that they sent in, but I go to their social media pages. I see what they're about. I see if they're gonna, if you look at stuff. I would just say that. And it was the same even for my play when I was selecting the different people for my play. You look at what they're doing on their pages, because that also represents or could potentially represent you, when you put your name
Exactly.
attached to them. So it's very important if you are, going to be an actor or whatever your field is, that you make sure that you represent fully and take advantage of having social media, because it is a great tool. You mentioned, reels. Do you think that people should put their audition reels on their social media pages?
There's a thin line with that. Only first of all, make sure you get permission to do so, because some
Right.
auditions, you know what I mean. But once you're cleared, of course, I mean, let people see what you do behind the scenes, because audition is the meat and potatoes of acting. I mean, you get to as they say, you don't go there if you're looking for a job. You're there to present your skill set. You leave it all at the table. You keep it moving, and it goes from there. But yes, when you're auditioning, you're showcasing what you can do, your range, also your personality, which comes from the slate, of course. So anything that you have, and if you don't have no audition reels, like I say, create your own, do a skit, do a famous scene that people know of, and interpret in your own way. All of this is part of acting and work and being a working actor. Like sometimes in the morning, I barely sleep. I mean, I get enough rest that I need. Sometimes I don't, but God, always provide a way for me to reset. But I'm simply saying, going to school, there's times I get be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because I'm trying to prepare for an audition. I go back to the classical trainings from like the Cary Grants or the Alfred Hitchcocks and James Cameron, classical training, Sidney Poitier and so forth. Or I'm always looking at behind the scenes of some of the most prolific and iconic films, and see the communication between the actor and the director, and how they compromise in ways to give the best quality to a scene for the movie. Those are the things you have to do to always stay on point, stay ahead of the game. And then ultimately, when you're on set, um, that's the best training in some ways, because you're right there where everything is happening at. Learning when the camera position is at. Learning your marks, learning the lingo, like 86 set, which means get rid of, or back to one, or what I mean, or stand on three. Those are things that it becomes repetitious. So those things that you have to be trained for. So yes, from auditioning, from being on set, from just whatever you have to do to hone your craft. And this is why you're doing such great things, being successful, because every time I see you on social media, you're always doing something to add to make yourself great. And you have to do that, so.
I appreciate you saying that. What is your process to get into a role when you're learning, when you just get assigned, this is who you're going to be? What's your process?
Well, a lot of people say they are method actors, which people use that loosely. And then you have character actors. I'm definitely method. And to bring it to the response to your question, what people don't know, method. I'll give an example. Let's say your character is a piano player. Instead of you fake playing the notes, whatever, you literally take piano lessons to learn at least some of the notes, to get the actual feel, the reality of it. Or let's say I'm gonna go kind of to the left a little bit. Let's say if your role is the undertaker, you might go to a funeral home to volunteer just to get the aura of it. I mean, that's the example of being in depth, making it real as possible. So with me, of course, every role is different. What I try to do is try to find the truth in that character that relates to me. Because now I have a foundation of saying I know this person, and then it's just like sis, like you have a best friend, you know everything about them, right? You know their favorite ice cream, you know if they hated math in school, you know their favorite places to travel. Well, your role that you're going for should be your best friend. Treat it as your best friend. You should know, what makes them mad, what makes them sad, everything, because ultimately they're not hiring you as a person; they hiring that character. So your job is to show them that you are not you. And then the first rule of acting is showing that you're not acting. If your role is meant for people to hate you, they better hate you very well. That's a great performance. If your role is to make them laugh or make them cry, you control the essence of that. So pretty much when I look at the character, I do the backstory on them. I look at them in a way to, well, how would they really approach this if they was a part of me, or how would my best friend do this? Because ultimately, my best friend, I'm inspired by, I'm influenced by. So this role have to put me in that, that level of thinking.
Very good stuff that you're speaking. What are some of the difficulties that you've experienced in this acting world?
Well, when you first start off, people are gonna hate on you. Think about a guy that come out of prison. Okay, yes, he's an inspiration and a great speaker and so forth. But acting, I don't know. You do a lot of background stuff. You have to have tough skin. A lot of people just don't want to see you, rise. That's just typical. I mean, they did the same thing with Jesus. So, and he was perfect. You have to learn how to block out the noise of the world. Listen to God. That's the first thing, because if not, this active process will eat you alive. Number two, some people, with me personally, in some occasions, whatever, people knew that I had potential, but they didn't want me to see it clearly. So it's against another form of hate, but I use it as stepping stones, because I've always been a person. I'm going to show you or give you what you think I cannot do. And once I applied that, then I realized the whole time that it's not about proving to other people; it's proving to myself why God gave me a second chance. So, yeah, just the hate. If you talk about the personal physical work, it depends upon everybody's journey is different. Me, I've driven thousands of miles. For instance, with Empire, before I got upgraded, I drove to Chicago 7 times, like within 1 month. That's a 14-hour drive for me. So there's times I almost ran off the road. There's times where I've driven all the way up there or other projects, and then they say, "Oh, we changed the last minute. We don't need you. You've driven 17 hours." You gotta have a strong mindset not to give up. Or when I drove to Louisiana, a 20-some hour drive for a 30-second audition, and then they cut the roll.
Wow.
So those are the things you're gonna face. And then support factor. The people that you suspect to support you, they don't. Until you make it big or what they think is big, then, oh my gosh, but that's my nephew, that's my family member, that's my friend. Those are things you're gonna face. What I can tell you is this right here. Acting is difficult, not because you can't do it, is what you allow to make it what I call necessary difficult. You want to train to be in a place where you're a challenge, because if you are mediocre, then you can't understand greatness. You can't play it safe. You can't be comfortable. However, don't allow things that's unnecessary to be difficult in your life. Don't worry about who supports you or don't support you. The right people in your life is going to be there for you. Don't worry about if the next role is going to make you a star. Just make sure that the next role is your best role, because you're only good at your last role. And just network. When I did background, this is very important. When people build background, especially when you have like hundreds of people, they are waiting to get off set. They don't care about, a lot of the background actors, they don't care about, if their career is going to go up or down or however the case may be. They just say, some people, they have to be there. And you got some who, oh, this is too long. Ain't no potential here for me. I'd be glad when I get off complaining. I was the person, when everybody left, I stayed behind and helped the PAs and directors clean up and move equipment. And they just say, "Charles, your background, we're done. You don't have to do this." I said, "No, I want to do this." I said, "I appreciate, just let me be in on set." Then they start calling you by your first name. You build a rapport. You start making connections. Start getting invited to, get-togethers and functions. Now you are building a criteria of saying this guy really wants to be more than the background. He wants to be an actor. He wants to be a part of the arts, and one of the greats. And that's why I tell people, no matter what you do in your career, always do something that's different, that's unique. That's what gets you in that elevation mode. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow. So what I heard from you is you got to sacrifice and you got to be hungry, basically. You got to be willing to put in the work.
You have to. I'll be the first to say I'm not. And you see myself on social media. I'm very blunt. I don't sugarcoat anything. There's times where I had to eat oodles and noodles or eat a bologna sandwich in order to make sure I get to point A to point B to make sure that my the daughter is good. You do have certain support factors and people in your circle. But however, at the end of the day, it's like you have to understand it's not where you started, it's where you're going.
Mm.
And like you said, if you're not hungry enough, a hungry person doesn't wait for somebody to put something on their plate. A hungry person learns how to cook. And they cook so well to other people want to eat with them or invite them to cook at their places. The metaphorically speaking is that you have to have a flavor. You can't be a bland person, whether you're an actor or a singer or whatever you're doing. What is it that people say, you know what? Sister Butter, I want you to be a part of this. Can you sing at my venue? Can you write this for me? Can you direct this for me? Can you star this for me? They have to be in an enlightenment, a spiritual aura. So, along with being hungry, what I'm saying is you have to be likable. Nobody want to work with a person that's always negative. If you are humble, you smile, do the work, say thank you, showing that you're grateful or gratitude, it'll get you very far.
Mm-hmm. That just led me to think about the whole, even when you're off scene or off screen and they said cut, you're still on, because you never know who is looking at you. You never know
Mm-hmm.
where that next job and opportunity will come from. It could be the person that's cleaning the bathrooms that might know somebody. It could be the person that's acting right next to you. You just never know.
Yes.
And I always tell people that even when I'm on stage, like I go overseas all the time and perform, and I only have to perform for 45 minutes and I'm there for like a week. And people are like, well, you're not working right now, but I'm always working. I always got to make sure
Exactly.
I'm on, because I don't know who's looking at me. And you can't just, you still have to be at a certain, level. And I always say that's very important. And you just never know where that next situation will come from. For example, one of my friends had a movie, and it was a very, small role. She said, well, I'll let you, we'll figure out something for you to say so you can get some camera time. Okay, cool. I was just happy to be a part of the project.
There you
And
go.
right. And when I got there, that led to someone saying, hey, I'm actually going to be doing this Aaliyah back and forth story, and I want to send your information to such and such. And then that happened. And then all of a sudden I get cast with Little Kim in the Aaliyah Untold back and forth story. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue.
Congrats.
And had
Yep.
I not been open, had I not been approachable and eager to learn and just happy to be on set, I don't think that would have happened.
Exactly. Somebody's always watching. I mean, some of the most prominent people in Hollywood who always give me their blessings and mentor me. They had been watching me for years, and then they all of a sudden came out, and they remember things I did more than 6 years ago. How long
Wow.
they had been watching me. They understand seeing my grow up. They watch my social media. They even see the screenshots of posts that made their mornings and their days. And a lot of these people in Hollywood, I mentor their kids or mentor their sisters and brothers. So it's a wonderful thing to make this connection. And it's one thing when you get a role, but see, you start seeing the specialty and what God is doing. I'm pretty sure you experienced this. When people want to create a role, something like, I have to have you a part of this. This is when you know you are really getting the respect and integrity that evolves in the good space in Hollywood. We know Hollywood is a different type of monster. So, yeah, that's why God is steadily blessing you, and also it's a thing that we're saying. What you basically just saying, and it's a saying I have too. It's not so much what you do on set, but it's what you do off set, because the camera's always rolling, and then we can live in the spiritual realm or whatever. It's always rolling. So whatever you do is being recorded, not just up in heaven with God, but here on earth, as well as the people who could be a blessing to your life. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So you mentioned that you drove, I don't know if you said 14 hours or 17 hours to go to Chicago for Empire. And
14, yeah, nearly 14. Yep.
you did that several times, and you said eventually you was upgraded. What does that mean? Upgraded?
So upgraded is when you go from a background to a principal, whether and people don't realize that there's you can be upgraded to a day player without lines or without many of lines. It could be a non-speaking co-star, non-speaking featured, reoccurring, or whatever. Which I was. I had only one line through the whole thing, but of course I was highly featured. But I got upgraded, and when you're upgraded, you're no longer with the background company. So I started as a background, of course. Didn't get seen. Thank God I didn't, because then I couldn't get upgraded unless it fits the story while the conflict. And that means so no longer you will make the $6 to $8 for 10 hours, or the typical is to move up a little bit now to like I think $100 now or something for 8 hours. But now you have a contract with the company. So I went from background to now having a contract as a feature reoccurring with Fox. As you know, of course, those Shine's main goon. So you don't ride in the white vans, with the extras. Now you ride in the Mercedes cab. It's you graduated. It's like now you actually part of the family. You get all the amenities, the respect. Of course, the money changes. Typical SaaS scale or whatever they negotiate. So it's basically you're breaking into that which you've been waiting for all your life. The gatekeepers said, hey, you've earned yourself. You're no longer a background. Now you're part of the family. You're coming in. And that's a great feeling, very great feeling, because I used to sit back all the time. Empire would launch my career, and to this day, it's still blessing me. So I wanted to shout out to my entire Empire family, who's been nothing but the best to me, and to this day, they still support me, uh, and everybody who I've been a part of their projects, because nothing's too small. I tell people all the time, when someone if you have a role that's small as a pebble, deliver it like it's a mountain.
Mhm. Mhm. That
So
that's funny that you said that. Well, not funny, but one of the
yeah,
things
yeah.
when I had my play, I cast one of my girlfriends in a role, and it wasn't really a big role. And I was telling her, I'm like, well, this isn't as big as everybody else's role and everything. And she's like, oh, I'm just grateful to be part of it. When I tell you that her role and her scene stole the show, like it was a part that everyone remembered. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so it doesn't
Yep.
matter how small it is, like you just said, you have to make whatever it is your own and do the best you and let it shine through, because if it's meant for that to elevate you more, it's going to shine. It doesn't matter if you say a word or if you say 10 words. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, Charm for the Kings is another perfect example. I mean, it was a cameo appearance. It wasn't the biggest role, but it was a very important role. And I was in all types of media and articles for some of Hollywood top forums and media entertainment companies. When they showed every trailer they showed for Charm for the King, my scene was in that trailer because I don't know if anybody's seen it or not, but I don't want to give it away. But you understand what I mean by it. Then to see, you in the trailer and on Will Smith's page, IG page, and people taking screenshots of it. I mean, it was phenomenal. And again, all because they remember me from Empire. They was Empire fans. So it's just a blessing. When you love the arts, when you love the passion, not because of the stardom or what people consider stardom, you would go very far. Some people say, "Oh, you're the newest celebrity, the rising star." I'm just an imperfect man that serves God, and I'm just blessed and able to do what I do and inspire people along the way with my testimony. So
Wonderful. So how can people get in contact with you, and what's next for you?
Of course, all my social media stuff is easy. Charles D. Clark on Facebook, on Instagram. It's C Clark. No, Charles D. Clark 1980, and then on my Twitter is C Clark Inspired, the number 7. So CCLARKINSPIRE. You can Google my name. A lot of my stuff will come up on there. What's next for me? I got to finish shooting the series for Volkov Origins by Alyssa Productions. Shout out to Joyce Dibble, Candace, and the whole entire crew, cast, and the production. I got a starring role in that as Brutus. And I'm waiting on 2 big auditions. One I'm looking very promising right now. So as soon as I find out, I would definitely let you know.
Awesome. Well, I would like to thank you so much for being a part of Transparency Talks podcast and being so transparent. I think that it will enlighten a lot of people that are getting started in the entertainment acting world, and it also would inspire people that had it rough or went down a wrong path, and it shows them that you don't have to stay that way. You can always move into other things. So thank you so much for being a part of the show. And with that being said, we are out of here. Facebook. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.